Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us for our IT CLC Connection. My name is Ashley Roseborough, and I'm excited to have you all for today's event. We are honored today by UHD and ATA alumni Reggie Andes, and today they will be joining us and talking with us about their career in infotech. Now, remember, this is an opportunity for you all to ask questions about UHD, ATA, or their journey in the IT field and how to prepare for a career in IT. So feel free to ask any questions in the chat box and we'll get to them tonight. As well as this is being recorded and will be made available to you to rewatch, share with your peers, and just have in your bookmark on your internet for future use. Also, we do know that the game starts at 7 something, so we hope to get you out right on time so you can get on the couch, get some food, and get ready to cheer for the Astros. So without further ado, let's get into it. How are you doing today, Reggie?
Actually doing great. Got to meet our CEO. I got a lot of information to bring back.
Oh, snap.
Ready to rock and roll.
Do you mind diving into that a little bit? How did that happen? How did that come about?
Actually, I got the invite yesterday. I was supposed to have today working from home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure because it's due to me being an entry-level employee, and I'm pretty sure it was a selected bunch from the recruiters.
Okay, so is that a normal thing where the new employees get to meet the CEO?
Definitely not. I've talked to some of the associate level people there, and they said they've never personally met the CEO. I think the CEO was around due to our new and shiny building over at the Chase Tower.
Not the new and shiny building.
It is definitely a new and shiny building. They put some ping pong tables on there, try to make it more modern. Of course, not Google yet, but it's getting close.
And this is in Houston, correct?
Yes, it is.
How far away is it from campus? Is it nearby the downtown
I would
area?
say it's about 10 minutes away from you guys.
Oh, snaps. Oh, snaps.
Maybe even if you probably took a drive, I'm assuming it's going to be like 6 minutes or so.
Okay, that's not bad. It's like literally right up the street, honestly. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's exciting to be able to meet the CEO right off the bat. We're going to get more into your journey in the IT field in a minute. But I did have one icebreaker question for you. If you could have any other profession other than the one you are in now, what would it be and why?
Other profession, if I had to choose one, I'd probably choose being a chemist. I actually had a strong interest in science back when I was a sophomore in high school and wanted to pursue that. But it went all kinds of ways. I actually got to my decision of computer science later in life, about past my first year of college. Took a few friends to convince me to do computer science.
Well, that segues into my next question. A chemist, I can also see you in a lab with the pipettes and mixing stuff and extracting all that.
Already got the mad scientist hair.
You do, you got the vibe going. If you dressing up for Halloween, that definitely would be a great costume. But share with us your educational background of who you are and what inspired you to journey into a career of IT.
Of who I am and my educational journey as well. All right. So as you guys know, I'm Reggie Andes. I am an UHD and ATA alum. For my educational background, I graduated fall of 2020 with an undergrad in computer science. Currently working for JP Morgan as a software engineer, and my focus over my team is within front-end development.
Why IT? I know you mentioned some of your peers encouraged you to go to IT route, but you were interested in chemistry and then you went to the other side of the sciences to IT. How did that come about?
All in between that would be farm tech. I actually took a farm tech class thinking it's going to be something I'll do in my life. And I actually did not take that final exam, even though I feel like I could have passed. I just didn't have confidence in myself during that time. And I just didn't feel like it was the right thing for me to do. I've always been a little geeky around my friends, around computers. So they said, why not computer science? And honestly, it's been the best decision I made. So why not computer science?
Absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely. You're a
and
software, go
yeah,
for
sorry
it.
about that. And fun fact too, I had to kind of show my dad a mini presentation to try to persuade him to be in computer science. He was very against it. He wanted me to be a nurse, like all other fathers and moms over there. uh, I really had to show the numbers. Like in a few years, software engineering is the future. Like everything is going to be in tech.
Mhm. Yes, yes. There's a few things going on. You're repping an ATA shirt right now, which I am so proud of because that's our first edition of our ATA shirt. So that just kind of ages you a little bit of how long you've been with us. And then two, you said that you had to convince your dad, persuade your dad almost in a way that IT was the route to go in regards to career paths. Can you dive into that a little bit more? Just making that decision for yourself, saying this is what I want to do, and then advocating for yourself in that way with family.
So there's actually a really big difference between software and like electrical, I would say. It's like building a CPU is what I wanted to actually do. So doing mechanical stuff, hands-on. But the deal was between my father and I was you focus on software and I'll let you. I have a lot of influence or respect for my father in regards to that. So it was kind of just settled between us. Uh, and I actually did not know what I call a coding was. Absolutely did not know what that was. And I, after a while of doing it, it's actually fun to create something. It's like instead of using your hands, you're just using your hands to type to build something.
Great, great response. That leads us to our next question. We have one already from the chat. Giovanni wants to know, how did you prepare for coding interviews? Did you have internships before landing your current job? I think we talked about this in a little bit when we caught up a few weeks ago.
So how did I prepare for coding interviews? Actually, let's start with the second question. Did I have any internships? I actually did not. I came as a new grad with no experience. My only experience probably would be 6 years of working in Raising Cane's as a shift manager. So as some of the ATA people know, I was working with that full time and I was studying full time and I just really wanted to get out of where I was. And that's what in turn got me to JP Morgan, the recruiters. But before we get to that, it'll be how did you prepare for your coding interviews? Hmm. So I actually applied to multiple companies saying who would actually throw me a coding interview. And these companies were not necessarily my first choice. They're actually like more of a test trial for me to practice on coding interviews. So I use those to just get used to the UI, the user interface, and preparing myself to possible questions that other coding interviews might have. So
Awesome. Shifting back to your software engineering, learn me something because I'm not familiar with the different fields of IT. What is software engineering and what does a day in the office look like for you?
So software engineering, let's see, I work for the financial tech side. So all of my tasks are somewhat related to a software engineer that's working for Google, except my focus is within the finance or investment field. So I actually do front end work to create these trading apps. So the user interface for trading apps. So that's my focus. But software engineering, if I had to think about it in a broad term, it's like creating a task or a project that is codable. I think anything in the world is probably codable at this point. If you wanted to make a website, you can code that. If you wanted to make an application, you can code that. And as well as like your mobile applications, same jazz. Did I answer the rest of the question?
Yeah, you did. What does a day in the office look like for you, right?
Oh,
You in person? Are you telecommuting?
Most of my career so far, so I've been working since February, so I haven't reached my first year yet. I've been learning a lot. Majority of that was spent work from home, which was nice. But there was a con to that. I wasn't able to absorb as much material as incoming students, incoming software engineers like as myself, being in an environment where somebody has a whiteboard showing you what you're doing wrong versus somebody on the screen just kind of telling you what to do and you're kind of just guessing. So there was some learning curves I had to go through. But now I started doing work from home. I'm sorry, not work from home, in person. For that, I come in 2 days a week, and I want to say it's not too different, except it's nice to just turn around and just ask somebody a question. I do feel like I don't know if it's actually going to be improved. Sorry, if it's going to improve for my learning if I'm around them, because I kind of know what to do now. It's been a few months, and if I didn't know what to do, then I think I'd be completely lost.
Is there another level to the learning that you're preparing for, or is this it right here? More software, certifications?
Oh, they do offer some courses that I could take. There is a lot of learning opportunity. The program encourages all that coding. They want you to be at least 75% coding at a time. And I came in not knowing anything in my team. Doing front end work was something definitely new, but they were very encouraging of you learning a totally foreign language.
Awesome. So if you could learn a language, what would it be?
A coding language or a foreign language? Coding wise, I'm actually learning what I wanted to learn. That was React, JavaScript, TypeScript, all the front end work, since I've never really touched those. I kind of touch a little bit of like HTML and CSS if you're doing websites. But that's the closest thing I've ever really gotten to working on a full front end team.
So you are UHD alumni and you are part of the first ATA cohort. So back in spring 2019, when we was babies.
Pilot, I was a pilot experimental
Yes,
group.
The pilot cohort, come on, pilot cohort. Christy, our director, always, she loves to share that when you first came in, you were shy. And over the course of the 2 years that you were at UHD and with us, you blossomed. And I met you in fall 19, and the shy Reggie was not the shy Reggie that we saw in the ATA lounge. You would have study groups in the ATA lounge. You would be meeting new people in the ATA lounge. So how did you break out of that shell, kind of to say, and build that sense of community and belonging while at UHD?
I guess it was kind of easy being at UHD. Being a transferred student at HCC, I wasn't really making friends because my focus was to get out of there, 2-year plan, get my basics done, move. But that was actually prolonged for much longer than I expected. When I finally got the motivation to transfer over to UHD and get my grades together. By the way, guys, I was a failing student in HCC. I'm so glad for the transfer. But it's actually helped me out a ton being in around ATA. I got to navigate around the building a little bit better and know what my resources are. I mean, where my resources are. And I remember a core memory of being with Miss Christie was, Miss Turnquist, I mean, was I was crying one time because I've gotten 2 Fs on my coding midterm from the same professor because I did not turn in the correct file. And she was always been there. She gave me all the resources I needed to get my grades to passing. And though I feel like I should have gotten an A, it's perfectly fine. But what made it easier is just building a community, just being open with anybody who you meet. And then you never know when you're, what do you call it? You're ever gonna need some help later down the line.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that memory, that story where you knew that.
I was sobbing.
And Miss Christie, when I told her that you were going to be our guest speaker for our IT event, she mentioned the same story. And you
was very open about it.
Listen, that's all we can ask is you be honest, and then we will do our best to meet you halfway in the middle. We have a couple of questions. I'm gonna get to the first one, and it's, what advice do you have for seniors graduating soon? Great question.
Yeah, that is actually a really great one. I wish I kind of knew this. I guess it's always been told in the back of my head, but I never really pay attention. But having to practice on interview skills is a really big, important thing. If you haven't practiced and you're actually going to go through your first interview, which I've gotten some questions on LinkedIn saying that they're going to do this in this interview. But my question is that your first, would that be your first interview? Is that your first choice is your first interview? That shouldn't be it. You should have gotten practice way ahead of time. I had to learn the hard way, very, very hard way. I was learning everything in like a span of 2 weeks, and it was very difficult. What else? For people who are in the same field as me in computer science, get to learn how to do GitHub, how to use GitHub, I mean, learning how to do little projects or little tech stacks you're interested in. Let's say you're interested in doing some front end work. You want to get yourself at least familiarized with the basics. And once you have that edge, you can actually utilize that in your coding interviews as well. And another important one, using websites like LeetCode and HackerRank to be able to practice solving some coding problems there too. I think those questions are actually used by big tech companies. So if you're interested in going to Amazon or Google, those are the websites you want to be looking at. Oh, and one last thing. If you have not been at a conference, you should. Conferences, any kind of job conference will give you the opportunity to speak to a recruiter there and see what they want.
Shameless plug, tomorrow you mentioned interviewing. Tomorrow we are hosting our mock interview series with the main career center. So you have an opportunity to connect with career coaches and practice interviewing. Introduce yourself, let them know the industry you're interested in working in, and they will help you practice these interview questions. So that way, when you get to the big interviews, you're ready to go and you're confident. And that's from 1 to 2:30 in our ATA lounge, right before our fall bash at 3, where you can win a laptop or tablet if you dress up in a costume. And Reggie, we would love to have you if you're available to come stop by, see our new lounge and everything.
I mean, can we dress up as a joke? Because that's usually my costume every year.
You can be a joke, that's okay. We know that you're not a joke. It's whatever you want, it's all good. I'm going to pass it to a question in the audience. We have Alana next. Alana, what's up?
Hey, Ashley. Hey, Reggie. Hey, nice to meet you. Thank you for creating time and space to be here with us. So my part may be two questions because one, I'm not clear.
Sure.
You mentioned internship job, but not having one after you graduated. So if you could just take it a little slower. So did you do the internship after you graduated and then the job? Like, how did that work?
Oh, okay. So I did not have any prior internship. I actually started my full-time career with JP Morgan right after graduation. So I came in as a new grad, and I'm part of their 2-year program called the Software Engineer Program, which is, if you had to think about it in terms of every company being analyst level. So after I graduate from that 2-year program, it's going to be associate level, VP, so on and so on. So I kind of got lucky in the no internship side. In my company, at least, they've told me they love their internal interns if they can, and after that, they really look into people who have outside experience, which is external internship. But what really put me over the edge was, I think I offset that by kind of winning competitions or submitting abstracts, getting that reference from my professors. So I kind of skipped over that. But it's a really big advantage if you can get an internship. And the earlier you think about it, the better chances that you'll have a better job later on.
Got it. Okay, that's awesome. So that answered my follow-up question. So awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for asking.
Great question, Alana. Thank you so much for touching on the internship piece, because Reggie, that's something that we also talked about, you getting that opportunity. Can you talk to us a little bit more about where did you look to find these internships? Did you go to a conference? Were you a part of a student organization that gave you access to it?
I mean, I was on my final year, actually my final semester, when I actually got to these conferences, which was around October. So graduating year was December, and that was my deadline. I just made some goals of which companies I wanted to actually go to. Let's say there was Verizon there. My focus was learning what Verizon wanted. And then I saw JP Morgan. JP Morgan was my original choice, my number one choice anyways. And then getting to know who the recruiters are very important. That's how I connected with them in LinkedIn, and just showing them you're very, very interested in being in the, applying, show the interest of the applications, what are things to justify why they should put your application ahead. And then kind of like little small brags about yourself, kind of making yourself known before the conferences. At least that's what I did. So once they kind of knew me during the conference, they're like, "Hey, you're Reggie, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here." Actually, I attended the conference I said I was gonna attend. So just put you out there.
And how important are references when applying, referrals when you are applying to the jobs?
I would say it's a little bit important. Yes, I did go without a referral.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can go either way. Because if you have the recruiter's attention, I think you can do without the referrals, but referrals will kind of put your application ahead with somebody that is trustworthy. Let's say if somebody were to ask me right now for a referral, I don't think I have the, what do you call it? The ranking to make that suggestion, but I'm not quite sure how recruiters work at this time. So if a recruiter is here, please let me know.
If we have a recruiter in the audience, please drop that shameless plug. We appreciate it. We love to get students connected. You started your career in February. Describe 3 things that have been most important to you in choosing a career or organization to work for.
2 or 3 things. I think number 1 has to be job security. And if I I mean, job security, I think is concern for everybody. And as well as overall culture. I wanted a company who I felt comfortable with being around the, what do you call it, my coworkers. And I felt like when I was talking to their side of the software engineers, they're really down to earth. And that's what really brought me over to their side. And let's see, does anybody else have a question right now? How do you negotiate salary? It really depends. I do have a question for, I do have an answer for that. For salary, if you're in a program like as I am, you have to do your due diligence and research if it's a fixed salary. If everybody in that program gets this much, then most likely you won't be able to negotiate your salary at all. But tips in negotiating salary would be getting information online. And if I can recall the websites now, I guess look for them. You can find websites on, I guess, Reddit. That's really out of the box site. But if you search up Reddit and whatever company, salary for whatever the job title is, entry, software engineer, whatever else, then you'll be able to kind of see where you should be at in terms of salary. And if you're able to use those numbers, what do you call it? YouTube, how to negotiate salary. I had to YouTube mine too, but I didn't have to negotiate my salary because it was fixed for everybody. And I come to find out everybody that's within this Houston got the same amount. I'm like, I'm good.
Awesome, awesome. Great question. Y'all are rolling in with these questions and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. We have another one that says, which is better, registering and applying for internships through agencies or directly applying to JP Morgan? Great question, Greg.
I don't have experience when it comes to applying for internships. I mean, at least through agencies, I think they can go either way. And part of that reasoning, I could say that it's due to my partner getting her full-time job through an agent. And I got mine through JP Morgan. So I don't really have a clear answer.
It's good to, have somebody on the inside that, recruiting, going to these events, working with a third party, even maybe to help you get these positions because they know a little bit more about that organization versus you just applying through their website. So, hey.
Oh, now I'm kind of rereading that question because they said through agencies. If you mean through events, so I'm thinking of JP Morgan as a whole. There's Code for Good, Women in Technology. Those are events. And I think you can directly apply right after you do an event for them. So if you're doing Code for Good, they'll redirect you to apply JP Morgan, but you did that, puts your application right on top. So finding out coding events with the companies or any events that they'll be in will put you on top.
And I dropped some of those resources you mentioned, Reggie, in the chat. So please copy and paste them into your Google search engine and look into those so that you can get connected to the next event and so that y'all can work on getting a foot in the door in this field. What are some skills that you've noticed juniors and seniors in college can develop now as they are preparing for a career as a software engineer?
I think I answered all of that. It was GitHub, interview practices, and solving coding problems. Other skills, I don't know if it's much of a skill, but more of a learning. I mean, learning your basics all over again from scratch. I had to do that so many times at work, not remembering how to, let's say from the basics, creating a function, the verbiage. If you can learn all those things, they'll help you with affecting more effective communication within your team. I'm still struggling with all the big words, tech words in my head. I have to describe it in the most basic level as of right now, though.
All right. So would that be, you know, it's talking to someone who has no experience in software engineering, like myself?
Yes.
Okay. Got you.
I use the most basic words, or like, do you mean a component? I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I mean.
It's all good. You're going to get there. We have some more questions. I find that job descriptions often ask for a large amount of skills and experience for entry-level positions. Would you recommend still applying to them anyway, or is that a red flag to look elsewhere?
I don't think job descriptions that ask for like 2 years, 1 year of experience, and you're just coming out of colleges is correct. What I've always been told is apply for it anyways. And I could say that's kind of true, because companies usually have openings. And so if they can't fill up those spots, they'll look for whoever's the next qualified person. So I would say, why not?
Shoot your shot anyways.
Yes.
You never know.
And honestly, you'll practice on resume writing. I use that as my basic resume writing. If I can write a resume that I can job scan through, and it's about what, 70% match or whatever the job description is, you'll get somebody, an actual person to look at your resume. So maybe they might give you a chance.
Awesome. That's a great resource. How do you navigate work-life balance?
Navigate work-life balance. Well, it's not too hard when you're working from home. I can just stand up and walk around. Now I've been back in the office. It's more of the separation between being able to go on my social media. One, let's see, setting boundaries for yourself. If you know you're tired, exhausted of work, even in person, just take a little walk, take a little breather. If you need to talk to somebody or have personal time, if your company allows it, do so. I think having that mental break every once in a while is going to help you with your work-life balance. And don't do what I do. I tend to do my work at 10 p.m. sometimes, and I will be on till 12, and I will dream about it. And it's terrible when you're coding, then suddenly you're sleeping and you're thinking about that code the entire night. Just won't be able to sleep. Very, very important, guys.
I dream in algorithms and codes and
don't get me started. And then next morning I'm like, I can solve this, and I try it and it doesn't work. I'm like, my brain is fudge. Don't trust your brain at night.
Okay. Another question. What's your tech stack at your company, and what development tools do you use?
Tech stack at the company. So my specific team works with TypeScript, JavaScript, and React. I guess we use React hooks as well. Development tools. If you're speaking about what IDE I use, it'll be IntelliJ or VS Code. Development tools. And in a broad sense, I think every company does use Bitbucket, Jira. So GitHub goes kind of hand in hand with Bitbucket. That's why I told you guys earlier to learn how to use GitHub, because you're going to need to. Most companies, I think, use it. And Jira would be for agile methodology. So agile methodology or Scrum is what we use for my team. I don't think those things you need to immediately learn, but really just learning the tech stack is more important. And for the company-wide tech stack, we have various languages. They give you, initially for me, they gave me a little survey saying, what tech stack I'm interested in. That could be either revolving around front end, back end. We use like multiple languages, guys.
And back to the interview process. Can you tell of a time where you were asked an interview question and was not prepared for such question? How did you handle it?
As I was telling Ashley a few days back, I actually fudged my interview questions, but there was 2 interviews, right? There was a behavioral and a technical, which is the coding part. But the behavioral one, I tend to word vomit when I'm getting interviewed by anybody. I mean, I'm doing it kind of right now, but on times I've gotten questions that were, questions I was not prepared for. Took a second. I really look back in my past, see what I can fit in there, whether it's my experiences as a manager at Raising Cane's. If I can pull something out of that, I will. What else? Or even think about school settings or being in an after-school curriculum. And thinking about situations that stem from that. And if you can figure out the answer to that, then that's, and you can put it in a story form, explain your situation, what the task was, what the issues were, and how'd you solve it. That's really how I structured all my interview answers, at least, even for the ones I did not know.
Listen, you got pulled from your past sometimes. Raising a manager at Raising Cane's, that'll sell itself, People not calling in, managing people, inventory, budgeting.
One of my responses for one of the questions, I think the one that I was kind of prepared for was a time that you were new at doing something. I guess it was new at doing something, and got criticism. And I was like, huh? I used the time I was an entry employee and I was kind of rude to the customers. And does that count? Just gotta pull it out if you can.
Absolutely, absolutely. In your experience, what are some challenges you have experienced yourself or witnessed in your career field? How did you overcome them?
Challenge I've faced or seen. I guess one of the challenges that I have faced as a junior developer working with more senior developers would be remembering my basics. That was my biggest struggle in the beginning. Like, by basics would be things I should have known back in college when I was a CS student. And I disregarded learning all of those before actually starting work. And I was having difficulty just doing basic code. And I remember my manager sitting me down saying, hey, you don't know your basics. How are you going to learn this new language? And that really struck me. And I took a week, gave me a week to myself. And I did some self-studying, just learning how to, I overcame those by redirecting my focus and creating little learning goals for myself. Let's see, what other challenges have I seen? Oh, just learning something new in general. It's always been a big challenge for me. One way to overcome that is just, you can use your coworkers as references if any of them know what the language is, and have a peer programming session with them, or have a group session and ask them whatever specific questions you have. Another way is, and it's weird too, Discord or Reddit. You can pretty much Google everything, guys. So Stack Overflow, if you know how to Google very well, I think you will find your answer.
Come on, Reddit.
I've gotten better at my searching. So.
Okay. All right. I love how you mentioned redirecting your focus and learning the material yourself. That takes a lot of self-awareness to know that, hey, I don't have this, but I'm going to work through this and I'm passionate about what I'm doing. So this hurdle right here, I can clean it. I can clear it as long as I give myself time to do it. I love how you mentioned that, Reggie. Do you prefer working on builds or maintenance?
I guess I do both. I don't really have a preference. It's more about what I'm comfortable with. Builds, maintenance. Maintenance, I feel like it is easy, but debugging, I mean, finding bugs and just debugging those can be a pain. Builds, just constructing something, or actually by builds, you mean, like, I think about it as a Groovy script, making a script. So I've worked on like Jules pipeline or Groovy. So I think that's what you're asking about. I really hate those. So I think maintenance.
We got a lot of IT folks in the house because builds and maintenance over my head, and that's all good. That's all it. Maintenance, you just cleaning up stuff, or because
Yeah, it's more about just maintaining, or what do you call that? Maintaining, making sure no bugs show up, or if a bug does show up, you want to make sure you find the reason for those bugs. Is that how I want to explain it? Yeah.
it's kind of like antivirus from.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, got it. Look,
I think maintenance in the long run, you're always going to be maintaining an application. And I think that's where most of the pay gets cut off from, maintaining an app.
okay, look, I'm gonna sign up for a CST class soon. You're gonna be my tutor, all right, Reggie?
I'm a terrible tutor, but sure.
No. He's supposed to say yes. He's supposed to say yes. What is your proudest achievement as a software developer?
Proudest achievement, I would say they're kind of minuscule, but being able to not ask my peers for a peer programming session is the biggest thing. I had like a bit of an attachment issue or more of a comfort thing, using them as a safety net, like always questioning what I'm gonna do next. And after that, after I was able to get away from that, started doing my own projects on my own. So proudest achievement, making my own project and just being able to put a pull request for review out there. So I'm like, okay, I don't have to ask them each time what I'm doing. It's more about, here's my work, check it out.
That's not a minuscule achievement, though. That's a big deal. Like I'm confident in what I'm doing. I know my work is great. I've built something. Now y'all can tell me what y'all think, where, how is it running, everything. That's a big achievement. That's awesome. That is awesome, Reggie. And we have another, these are all questions from the audience, and I thank y'all so much for dropping these questions left and right, because these are really great questions. Computer science is a broad field with many job opportunities. There's front end, back end, system admin, cybersecurity, etc. How did you decide on what to focus on? Great question, Gio.
I've always had an interest in front end, and that's stemming from taking a web development class with Dr. Ting Zhang. If some of you CS people know, she's really cool. I think that was my biggest influence. And deciding on what to focus on, yeah, they know, was really what's gonna be ahead later on. And being in front end, I got to learn React, and I feel like that's gonna go, and I do believe it's actually gonna go further than I think for at least a few more years. Because some may not know, there is this, a lifeline between apps, and you're constantly learning something new. What I've heard from my senior developers that, they've learned 10 other languages before React, and you're just consistently learning something new. And I do want to get to doing other things like backend, maybe even cybersecurity. A little bit difficult if you ask me. Cybersecurity, that's hard. One day, but for now, I'm pretty happy at doing front end.
Is there a company, a dream company you want to work for, a dream job or organization you would like to be a part of?
I'm very vocal about it. Even told my senior dev about it. He said, Google, one day, Google. I just think their technology is great, and there's so many things to touch on within space of Google. It is a big dream to get there. I think it's a lot of interviews to get there. Same thing for any kind of big tech company or the big N. But one day.
You got to make it plain and manifest it. Say it out loud. Tell everybody. You never know.
I'm pretty happy with JP Morgan right now.
And that's okay. That's okay. If Google is where you want to go, and that's the aspiration, aspire and let them. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I'm a bit lucky due to my manager being very supportive and creating a very we call it accepting and learning environment. The type of manager I do have, I work type where they'll put a whiteboard and explain every little detail to you, make diagrams, and I'm a very visual learner and hands-on. So that really does help.
Yeah.
But I want to say it's the same for everybody. You might be in a team where your manager is just away for a very long time. You see them once a month, but my team sees each other every day. And most of us are actually in London. So from 9 to 12, my meetings are, actually I didn't explain that part. 9 to 12, it's completely packed with meetings. We have our deep dive sessions after our scrums. And what else about it? And we do have like knowledge shares. So if somebody finds out about something new or a different way we can do this, our code base, then we all hear about it. We're all like, wow. And I've actually learned CSS more deeply being in that team. I learned about inheritance, and think about a little list and you're just scrolling down a list. That can have a lot of things, little nitbits in there. So besides the toolbar, the scrolling and all that jazz, it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Awesome. Shout out to the supportive learning and working environment, because that is important with your career. You don't want to be at a 9 to 5 and you're going to work miserable every day. You don't feel unsupportive. So I'm so happy to hear that you have a manager, you have a mentor that can foster that environment for you. Shifting to addressing COVID-19, how has COVID-19 impacted your job or the field?
Actually, COVID made software engineer jobs go up. It actually exploded this year. So there was a lot of opportunities for anybody to join in. And even with my firm, they're planning to double the amount of people they're taking in by next year. So I would say it's the same for every company. It's propelling towards that, at least in my field.
Okay.
And for COVID, I like work from home. It's nice. So no negative impact with me.
Very, very blessed, very fortunate. And working from home is nice. I miss it. I know most of the staff on campus miss it as well. Fighting for parking every morning is not fun. And that there was an increase in job opportunities in the IT field. So do you have to have an IT degree to get into the IT field?
Actually, no. There are plenty of programs that you can do elsewhere, or there might be some opportunities on companies' websites where they'll say they're hiring an entry level, or we have this program where you can learn with us. And in the qualifications, you'll see cannot be a CS or a computer engineering degree. They don't let us in those programs. So you have to have a very different degree to join in. But there are tons of opportunities out there to do software engineering or somewhere in tech. without that degree.
Okay, so do you mind elaborating on that program that JP Morgan has where they're specifically asking for students who aren't studying computer engineering? They want non-CST majors almost?
Yeah, I would say so. A lot of companies are working on diversifying their teams or their employees. So besides being a woman, being Black or Hispanic, or what else is another factor? Being a vet. There's programs out there that will get you that place in tech, just set aside for those specific people.
Awesome. That's some things to consider when looking for a job. You know, going outside of your desired industry.
Yeah, if you want to do some coding,
Yeah, come on, let's code. Come on.
Anybody with a degree can have it. Or even
Honestly,
without degrees. I don't think you even have to have a degree sometimes. Like,
listen, if you were around in the MySpace days, you coded. Period.
here it is. Everybody knows a basic HTML. If you had a Tumblr, you had a MySpace. That's HTML. That's already what I'm doing. You can take my job.
No, we'll work with you. We'll work alongside you. I noticed you mentioned inheritance. Why is multiple inheritance not supported by Java?
I think you're asking a little different from what I was referring to. The inheritance I was referring to was in CSS. So with CSS, you're looking at, let's say, besides the list example, you're looking at that button. Inside of that, there might be a label. So that kind of inheritance, and I was talking about styling. It's a little different from the question they're asking. So why multiple inheritance not supported in Java? I have to get back to that. Okay. I gotta remember what inheritance is in Java.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't see, guys. This is what do you call object-oriented programming question. And I practiced this for my interviews. Have not looked at it ever since.
It's all good. It's all good. Do you mind touching on what is style inheritance?
Oh, yes. I'm trying to make it as simple as I can. If I can share my screen, I should probably pull it on. Give me a second.
While Reggie's pulling it up, y'all, thank y'all so much for these questions. Keep them coming. We have about 30 more minutes and we're going to keep this thing rolling as Reggie's pulling up her screen. Keep dropping those questions in the chat. We really appreciate it.
All right, pardon my screen, guys. So on here, in spec, if you look at each thing, say the input, and what I was referring to would be the styles inside of that. You see that? I don't know how to really explain it too much, but in a basic idea would be what it looks like on here. You can modify all of these actually. Let me see if I can see. We have a border that's for some reason set as none. I'm pretty sure inheritance, there is a border on there. But if I turn it back on, it takes off that little border. But you can change the styles that's on there. And you can just on your own too.
So don't go into your computer because
I'm not. I'm trying to make this too difficult. But you can definitely mess around with it on your own. If you go on like simple websites, you can take off all that style. So you see, this is not even clickable anymore. And I made this URL very tiny. I mean, search bar really tiny. But that's kind of like breaking it down.
So we have the control to, yes, Google presents it in one way, but we can go in and manipulate it with the style.
Yes, that is exactly it. Yes.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm going to go mess up. Maybe one day I'll mess up my computer and then take it up to IT to fix it, just to play around with it.
And you just press refresh, it's back to normal again.
Oh,
you can do it on your own.
Perfect. So another student wants to know, you don't need an IT related degree to break into the industry, but do you personally work with people who went to school and have a degree not related in IT?
Yes, I do. Some of them being in London, though I can't say within my team because we've actually just gotten two new people. They're all new. I mean, both of us are new grads, sorry, two new people, meaning me and this other girl. Let's see. I do work with some, and I asked them for their experience being outside of tech. I mean, being outside of IT degree, and they said it was like a boot camp. You're kind of learning things. If you're passionate about kind of learning how to code, you can pick things up pretty much through experience. So the more you code, the better you do. Let's see. I think that was just a general question. Do I work with them? Yes, I do.
Okay, cool. We're gonna shift into professional organizations and student organizations. I know you were very busy while you were here at UHD, but do you mind sharing some student organizations you were a part of here at UHD and some professional organizations you are a part of now?
In UHD, I joined ACM back. I did the Student Association, pardon me. Well, really one I really stuck with was ACM because I was their software developer as well. And I kind of used that as a way to learn web developing and being able to maintain a site while not getting paid. What other activities did I do? I was in ATA a lot. I would join their sessions. I just jump in even after I got out their program. I was still in the setting. I was using their lounge until 9 p.m. Sometimes you'll see me there. And I'd go home. Professional groups. I wouldn't say it's a group, more like when I did the conferences. I wouldn't say it's a group, it's more of an event session. Those are things I encourage for anybody to join. You'll meet a lot of people there, a lot of resources, and finding a lot of job opportunities. One great one would be, if you're female, would be Grace Hopper Conference. Grace Hopper Conferences has multiple, we call it international and domestic jobs, and they are looking for people all around. So, and there's great minds in STEM, but a lot of those jobs are meant for people who are citizen. Thanks for saying bye, Alana.
Hi, Alana. Reggie, do you mind typing in, is that Grace Harper Conference?
Hopper.
Got you. And Alana, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your wonderful questions. We hope to see you very soon. Reggie, as you dropped those resources in the chat. Are you reading some books right now? Are you a book reader? And if so, what books do you recommend students to read?
I do so badly with books. Okay. I'm more of a learner when it comes to what do you call it? Websites, just
Okay.
like Plural. There's Pluralsight. That's what the company pays for. And then there is, I'm trying to look it up. What's that other one? LinkedIn Learning. I did most of my learning while I was in school through LinkedIn Learning, since UHD does offer free access to that.
Mm-hmm. You're also a brand ambassador for Reddit, the way you read.
Oh, just gotta be good at searching things. There are actually very very active communities. There's it's called CS Developers. I think you can probably search up CS Developers Reddit on Google, and you'll be able to find all these other groups. and sites. Some of them provide salary comparisons, so people put in their salary. You'll find coding responses there, and there's of course Stack Overflow, which everybody finds their what do you call it, coding questions from. I mean, what do you call it? If they don't know how to code a certain thing, they could just search it up there.
It sounds like Quizlet for coding.
I would say so. Yeah, we have these random besides the moderators, like a open response forum. Somebody said, I'm struggling with this because this button doesn't work. They're like, well, you coded this wrong. Here's the code, how the code should be, and they put an explanation. People are great. You can do a voting system in there,
Okay.
like highest ranking type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Best answer.
Mhm.
Alrighty. Do you actively contribute to any GitHub or open source projects?
Not anymore. I should, honestly. I'm doing badly doing that. I used to look at GitHub projects and do open source. I mean, I've had my own open source project in there. Most of the time, what I was doing with GitHub was starting little projects I was interested in and using those classes like LinkedIn Learning to what do you call it, start a project. And a person could pass by your GitHub, or let's say a recruiter can pass by your GitHub and see how active you are, because it kind of lights up as green if you're very active, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see. But yeah, we actively contribute. Not anymore. But
Okay.
I'm contributing on my Bitbucket. Does that count?
Yes, yes, it does. I say it does, but
I get paid for that one though.
Going back to the GitHub and open source projects, why is it a good thing if you're in the green?
Yes.
Okay. And what comes from that?
Just how active you are with your website, with your GitHub and profile.
Is there like any benefits outside of people seeing that you are contributing to your GitHub? Is there like more opportunities upon that?
Yeah, if you're very very active, people can easily see that you contributed from other projects. You can get jobs just out of nowhere from that.
Oh wow.
I can't say how big recruiters are in looking at GitHubs, but maybe bigger tech companies might want that.
Got you. When you mentioned that, I thought about Instagram and how the more content you post, the more exposure you're gonna get and the more opportunities you get to get paid.
Same, yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay. We do have about a few more questions. So we may wrap up early unless y'all continue to throw in your questions, which are perfectly fine. We could take this all the way to 7 p.m. if you like. But if not, we're gonna wrap up these last 3 questions and then we'll wrap up the session. We have another question from the audience. How much public speaking do you do as a software developer? I heard that employers do ask their employees to lead meetings, not just in front of coworkers, but for company clients also.
I think there is a good amount because eventually you want to be at a point where you do run some meetings. And I know I'm probably due to run meetings later on down the line. I think I'll probably be starting next year. So as soon as January is done. And what I mean by lead meetings would be being the Scrum Master. If you know the Agile methodology, there's a Scrum Master who leads the meetings and would ask people, how are you with your progress? Are you blocked? And let's go over that later on. And just basically making sure everything moves. So I think public speaking does play a really big part. And in my career as a software developer, I actually joined something called Toastmasters within the JP Morgan space, or I think it's available outside of JP Morgan as well. We do like, what do you call it? Speech practice and random table topics just to throw you off your guard and just being able to explain things right off the bat. Let's see. And then for company clients, yeah, I've seen my associates in my team, actually, sorry about that, that speak to our stakeholders directly, and they are the front. And one day I want to make sure I get to speak to those stakeholders in the way that they do as well. Public speaking, big thing.
Absolutely. I lost my train of thought. But the Toastmasters organization, you are about maybe the 4th or 5th guest speaker that we've had that mentioned. Yeah, Toastmasters is a big thing. Can you talk about, do they have communities for IT individuals, or is it just individuals from different industries coming together to foster and develop their public speaking skills?
It's multiple people from different industries. I know people don't work at JP Morgan, or one of them is a teacher as well. And they do their own different things. But we all join in as one community, very supportive, and like opening up the table for them to discuss about anything they like. So it's not like you have to say something that's a little techie. No, they'll just give you like a word of the day. Let's say you have to use the word Lexus. And if you can, you get like extra bonus points. Try to avoid the us and the ums that I've been doing throughout this entire thing, right? I did it again. And they'll count it out for you and let you know at the end, like, I noticed you did this, but I like the way you took a pause and brought it back. So you get really active feedback from the rest of the team. I mean, rest of the people in that meeting.
Awesome. That is something that I am going to look into very soon as I host these CLCs. The filler words always seem to find their way into the mix of the conversation for me as well. So, actively working on it in these spaces. Again, this is practice as well. So
this is definitely practice for me. I've never been interviewed. Interviewed this way, at least, not the interview process.
It's okay. You're with
using you as my Toastmaster.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes, you can tell your Toastmaster, look, I did this talk at UHD and I rocked it. Going to back to the interview, would you recommend using cracking the code to prepare for interview algorithms and questions? Yes,
actually, largely recommend cracking the code. I use that actually, so I did read Cracking the Code, the book, to go through some basic algorithms. A lot of them are in Java. Do they have Python? But I highly recommend that book. Really helpful for algorithms and just asking. I think they give you like interview tips as well.
Nice. Good resource. And my last question, well, my last of two, how do you decompress or take care of your mental health?
Take care of my mental health. Besides not looking at my work and just walking away from my screen for a while, let's see, change my focus to something else that I find more fun. So I'll find a task that I feel like, oh, that'd be easy to tackle, or I can probably read about it and focus on that instead. And when I come back to that old project, then I'm less stressed about it and I'm able to code it better. Really taking that time to myself. If I know I'm getting overloaded for the day, I'll just tell my boss, hey, I'm like stressed. Could I get some time off later in the day? They're like, yeah, sure. Like being just honest and transparent with yourself and your capabilities is gonna go a long way.
Yes. Love that response. Love that. My last question, Reggie. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
See myself in 5 years. Hey, that's the Google goal. 5 years. I think I'd like to be in Google or higher up in the chain of JP Morgan one day.
And do you have a specific position in the chain of JP Morgan?
No specific position. I'm pretty happy where I am as of right now. I do see a long future with them. But my manager did say maybe within 4 years you want to change teams or change tech stacks you're learning just to keep it fresh, or else you become very complacent or very used to doing something over and over. Kind of need the stimulation.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we look forward to staying updated and hearing about the wonderful things that you do at JP Morgan and Google when you get there, because I do believe that you will get there. As always, it's been a pleasure to see you, to connect with you. Thank you so much for taking this time to be with us on this evening. We hope to see you again soon in person. The lounge has snacks now, so if you ever find yourself wanting to go to campus.
Really snacky.
Yeah, we're real snacky now. We have cup noodles.
For your kids.
Yes, we have energy drinks as well. So if you want a Monster or a Red Bull, we have all that now. But it's been an honor to see you grow in your journey as a student and as a professional now. And we wish you the best. We wish you the absolute best. Christy sends her love as well. She couldn't be with us tonight, but she definitely sends her love and says hello. And we just thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I'm actually gonna put out a personal meeting ID for anybody else that wants to chat. I'll probably be on until 7. So if you have any more questions regarding anything, I mean, I wish I can help. So there you go. There's a number for that, the Zoom meeting.
Yeah, go segue over to the Zoom meeting. And just connect with Reggie, get a contact. Now you have a peer who has walked your journey and who is open to having conversation and helping you on your journey, which I'm not surprised. This is who Reggie is. This is what Reggie does. And they do a wonderful job at it. So I hope that y'all take this opportunity, save that ID number for a later time, hit them up via email to have a conversation. And we look forward to the good news as well. And Reggie, I'm going to end this meeting. So if you want to start your meeting, you can do that as well. Will
do. So I'll be at that Zoom number until 7, guys.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect. See y'all. Hope we see y'all tomorrow at the Fall Bash from 3 to 6 p.m. If not, go Stros. Take care. Be safe. Be well. Peace. Bye, Reggie.
Bye,
y'all.